when you grow, when you get better, when you improve, when your mindset shifts, your income shifts with you because your income is in direct proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that was sparked in a conversation that I had yesterday. And somebody asked me the question, they go, Matt, how do I know if I'm growing? Like, how can you tell if I'm growing? Because a lot of times in the midst of growing, you don't even realize that you are getting better until later on down the road. And so it's like, how do I know that I'm improving? How do I know that I'm growing? How do I know that I'm getting to another level? And so what I want to do is I want to go over a couple of things with you of how I've been able to identify I'm better. I've grown. I'm not the same person that I used to be. And don't get me wrong, there are generic things that pop up that's going to make you feel that way. But there are also specific things that can help you identify I'm better. And I want to go over those specific things with you today. And so the first thing is what you enjoy changes. What you enjoy changes. And by the way, if you love basketball, it doesn't mean that you got to stop loving basketball and love something else, right? That's not what I mean by that. But there are certain habits that maybe weren't the best habits in the past that you had, that you are no longer okay with those habits anymore because they're no longer in alignment with who you are, your identity, your morals, your values, your character, what you stand for. So like, I'll give you an example, right? At one point in my life, especially my high school days, going into my college days a little bit, right? I used to enjoy going out and partying and like, I enjoyed that. But throughout the years, I realized that I don't enjoy that, right? And nor do I want to do it at all. I'm not saying I don't want to have a good time, but I would much rather spend time with my wife. I would much rather spend time with my daughters. I enjoy being able to wake up with a clear mind. I enjoy a clear mind more than I enjoy the other things that came with that lifestyle. And I think that when what you enjoy shifts and what bad behavior and or bad habits you used to have, you no longer align with those bad habits, all of a sudden you feel like you're growing, right? It's kind of like when you eat a cake. I used to really enjoy cake, but now I like the way I feel when I don't eat cake more than I like the feeling of cake. And it's one of the reasons that I've become healthier. And so when what you enjoy changes, that's when you can start to tell like, okay, I'm growing, I'm getting better, I'm improving. Number two, the conversations change and or the conversations that you want to be a part of changed. You know, I remember I was in business for a couple of years, and keep in mind, imagine being in business, personal development, you're reading the books, you're listening to the audios, you're surrounded by people who are obsessed about getting better, changing their lives. All of a sudden, I go back to a kind of a friends event of friends that I used to hang out with in the past. And these aren't bad people. These are incredible people. But the conversations that they were having were no longer conversations that I cared about having anymore because I improved. And for me, it became about we're not talking about how to improve, how to get better, how to become healthier, how to strengthen our families, how to walk stronger in your faith, how to earn more income, how to scale a business, then for me, I don't even want to have the conversation. And that's not what the conversations were about. The conversations were about things that I didn't want to partake in. And I used to partake in those conversations. I look back at my life and I was a part of those conversations. I chimed in on those conversations. I felt like I was missing out if I wasn't in those conversations. And now I look back on those conversations and I think they're kind of ridiculous and silly. And so the conversations that you are okay with and are okay with being a part of changes. And that's how you can tell that you're changing as well. And so I'm sure you could agree with me, especially if you've been down the personal development road for the last year or two. All of a sudden you go hang around certain people in your family and you love your family, but you don't really care for the conversations because maybe there's scarcity in the conversation and or there's negativity or maybe they're gossiping or talking smack and you just don't align with those things anymore because you align with the bigger picture. You align with your goals and dreams, and those are not conversations of people who are accomplishing goals and dreams. And so if the conversations change that you want to be a part of, that means that you're changing. Number three, how you handle problems change. You know, there was a situation recently that popped up that was similar to a situation that I've dealt with in the past. And I was impressed with myself on how I handled the situation. Not because I was patting myself on the back, Matt, you did a great job handling that situation. That's not what I mean. I was just reflecting back on how I handled that situation in the past. And how I handled it in the past was very reactive. It was very emotional. It was not with the solution in mind compared to the way that I handled the situation the other day, it was with the solution in mind. I stayed calm. I stayed collected. It was no big deal. I stayed optimistic through it, and I didn't allow it to affect the relationship. Where in the past, because I was emotional, I maybe said something that wasn't the greatest thing to say, and I affected the relationship of the individual that the situation popped up with. And so when you grow and you get better, how you handle situations change. And there's going to be so many situations that pop up, moving forward in your life. And the only way to really know I've improved, I'm better, I'm on another level, it's going to come down to how you handle those situations. That's why I'm not afraid of adversity, because I look at adversity as an opportunity for me to test myself on how far I've grown, how far I've came. Do I let the adversity get the better of me, or do I get the better of the adversity? Meaning I turn the adversity into a blessing. And I want to challenge you to do the exact same thing. We've all heard the saying before that on the other side of every adversity, there's a greater than or equal to blessing waiting on the other side, as long as we quote unquote look for it. And I disagree with it. I don't think it's just about looking for it, even though it's important. I think it's about qualifying for it. And the only way to qualify for the sevenfold return, for the blessing, is if you are honorable through the situation. Well, that only happens if you become better. There's so many times in my past where I was not honorable through the adversity. And no wonder I didn't receive the blessing on the other side of the adversity, because I didn't handle the adversity the way that I should have. But now all of a sudden I've grown, I get better. And I'm not saying I handle adversity perfectly, and I'm not saying I handle every situation perfectly, but I handle it so much better than I used to. I handle it calm, collected, optimistic, with the solution in mind, versus in the past, it was reactive, it was emotional, it was upset, it was angry, it was frustrated. I said things I shouldn't have said. And that's one of the purest signs that you are better, you have improved, and you have grown. Number 4, your income goes up. When you grow, your income follows. That's just the way that it works. When you grow, when you get better, when you improve, when your mindset shifts, your income shifts with you, because your income is in direct proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace. And so the more valuable you become, the more your income will naturally grow. And so for years, one of the things that I've realized is that if I wanted a pay raise, then I just had to get laser focused on improving my skill sets, improving my ability to lead, improving my understanding of business, improving my understanding of finances and how money works, improving my systems, improving my processes. And it was me being okay with the fact that who I am is not enough to have what it is that I want. And so as you grow, your income follows. So if you are experiencing a consistent income right now, then maybe it's because you're not growing the way that you should be. Because if you were growing more, you would become uncomfortable with the current income that you're making. But if you aren't growing, then what happens is you become comfortable with the income that you're making. And comfort is the enemy of getting to another level in your life. Naturally, as human beings, we want to be comfortable. We want to sustain what we have. We get to a place that we're doing good and we don't want to lose it. And there's nothing wrong with not wanting to lose something that's good. But sometimes when you've had bads for so long, when you experience good, you think it's great. And there's another level to our life that we don't chase and or pursue because we become comfortable where we're at. And I want to challenge you to not fall into that trap. I want to challenge you to go improve, go get better. And as you do this, your income will follow. I think you see a lot of people in business and entrepreneurship, especially in my industry, where their incomes are growing, their incomes are climbing, and people think it's because they're chasing more income. And the truth is, that's not what it is. Like, for instance, my income is growing every year. My income grows every single year. My net worth grows every single month, but I'm not chasing that. What I'm chasing is the best version of me. The income just kind of follows. What I'm chasing is helping my people become the best version of them, and their income follows. So my income growing month over month and year over year has nothing to do with me chasing more money, and has everything to do with me chasing becoming the best version of me. And as I become better and as I become more valuable and as my skill sets increase and my mindset shifts and my character strengthens, my income strengthens, my income goes up, my net worth increases, and every area of my life improves. And so if you want to know, am I getting better? Look at your financial situation, look at your income, and that will truly show that you are getting better. Number 5, a great way to figure out if you've grown is your relationships change. Your relationships improve. The relationships become more quality relationships. Isn't it crazy that when we're young, we have quantity relationships? I'm not saying there's not quality relationships in there, but there's quantity relationships. You have a lot of people that are around you. But this is what I want you to know. The word friendship is on the tongues of many. It's spoken by many, but it's in the hearts of very few. And I think when you grow, you start to be able to identify the relationships that are worth investing into, the relationships that are worth watering. And as those relationships strengthen, as those relationships grow, that's a pure sign that you are growing. The relationships and the friendships that I have today are not the same relationships and the friendships that I had 5, 10, 15 years ago. And that doesn't mean I wouldn't be there for those people from 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. It just means the relationships have escalated, they've elevated, they've gotten to a whole nother level. And that's a great way for you to be able to say, you know what, I'm getting better because people want me a part of their circle. These people are doing incredibly well in their marriage, in their faith, in their health, in their finances, in their business, economically, in every area of their life. They just are doing better. Their happiness, they just seem like they're doing better. And I'm a part of that association, which means that they must think that I help make those things better in their lives. We've all heard the saying that you become the 5 people that you hang around the most. And successful people know that. Elite people know that. So then they guard those 5 people. They guard those relationships. And so if your relationships are improving, that's a pure sign that you're improving because any quality person is guarding the quality of people that they are hanging out with and surrounding themselves with. So if you want to figure out, am I growing? Just look at your relationships. Have your relationships improved. Have your relationships strengthened. Have the relationships become more quality relationships. And if so, that's a sure sign that you're growing. Number 6, the size of your business grows. If you are leading a team and that team gets bigger, that's a pure sign that you've grown in your leadership, that you've grown in your ability to handle people problems, you've grown in your ability to deal with situations, you've grown in your ability to teach people how to succeed. And so if your team is growing, well, that's a pure sign that you are growing. If your team is sustaining, that's a good sign that you're sustaining. If your team is declining, that's a good sign that you aren't who you need to be and maybe you're not growing at all. And so if your team is growing, that's a sure sign that you're getting better, you're improving, you're becoming better with people problems, and that's a really, really good thing. And last but not least, number 7, the 7th way to tell if you are growing is if what impresses you changes. If you are impressed by a great marriage, that's probably why your marriage is not as strong as it needs to be. If you were impressed by somebody who walks deeply in their faith, that's probably why you're not walking deeply in your faith. If you were impressed by someone's beautiful home, that's probably why you're not living in a similar home. If you were impressed by somebody's income or the car they drive, it's probably why you don't have that income or that car. If you were impressed by the life that people have been able to build, that's probably why you don't have it. If you were impressed by somebody's physical physique, that's probably why you don't have their physique. If you were impressed by something, that's why you don't have it. And so if what impresses you has changed and or shifted, then that means that you've grown and you've gotten better. I remember coming up in the business world and I would look at people who are earning certain incomes and I was so impressed by the income that they were making. Like, oh my gosh, one day if I just earn an income like that. But then it made sense on why I wasn't earning an income like that because my identity didn't feel like I deserved it yet because I was still impressed by it. But then as I grew my income and as I grew my identity, the less impressed I became by an income, the faster I accomplished the income. If you look at somebody who has 6-pack abs and their friend has 6-pack abs, they're not impressed by each other's abs because they both have the identity of somebody who's in shape, right? If you have somebody who has $1 million sitting in their account and somebody else has $1 million sitting in their account, they're not impressed by each other's million because they both have the identity. They both have it already. And so if you are impressed by the life that someone has or the marriage that someone has, then that's an issue. We have to change what we become impressed with. And if what we become impressed with shifts, then that's a pure sign that you've shifted in your beliefs, your thoughts, your standards, and what you allow in your life. And so these are 7 areas to be able to tell I've grown, I've gotten better, I've improved. And I'm sure there's other areas that I just couldn't think of. But those are 7 tangible things that if you could pay attention to, you can start to be able to tell if you are getting better. And so if today helped you by any means, if you could do me a favor, tell a friend about it. We put out all this information for free. All we ask is that if you learn something, you like, share, subscribe, tell people about it, because obviously that's the only way for us to grow the channel. And so we appreciate you and we will see you guys next week. Let's get it.